And let's get started. Okay, I'm glad to see everybody back. Thought maybe I lost you yesterday after our mapping your sales exercise. I'd love to hear from you. I actually didn't hear from any of you on that exercise. I was still getting a lot of questions and feedback from some of our earlier exercises this week. So either you're on track and there were no questions, or you were trying to catch up and you still haven't quite gotten there. But regardless, we are moving into day 9. Oh my goodness, we're almost done. One more day. Tomorrow is a holiday for you guys. So whether you're going to join in or not, I'm going to go through tightening everything up for you and all the things that you need to look at to cross your T's, dot your I's, or I don't know how we can translate that into numerical speak, but that's what we're doing tomorrow. Now today, we are actually getting away from numbers in many respects, and we are looking at marketing. So I call this the marketing mix. We can call it marketing math, but it picks up on where we left off yesterday, because yesterday, what we ended up with as a team yesterday, whether you did the exercise or not, I don't know. But where we ended up is that we now understand that we have some units to be selling, whether they're products or services. And if you go to your step 3 tab, forecasting for profit, you will remember they are found up here in the top right-hand corner with respect to total number of units or sessions or services or whatever it may be, clients that are being sold per respective product or service, right? So that's what these numbers are here. Now, what you're going to do today, the tool that you are going to need is it's the template called the marketing mix, and it is in the P2P equipment room. You're going to find it there, and I am going to pull it up for you. And I have a completed one here for us to look at. So this is what it looks like. It's the plan to profit marketing mix. And basically what we want to do is we want to be able to qualify now how we are going to achieve the volume that we have now set as our sales goals. So one of the first things that you need to know is that you have to pull this template, and you have to do this for each product and service separately. Right? This isn't a big thing for the company. This isn't about brand awareness. In this example, how are we going to sell extra large renovations? What is our plan to do that? So I want to walk you through step by step how you are going to fill out this template. Now, if you have marketing consultants, this is a great exercise to do with them. If you've got people that support you with social media, this is a great exercise to do with them. It certainly does not hurt if you've got someone to bounce some ideas off of, because marketing is a very creative process. So a couple of things that you are going to need to have identified before you get into this, and this is not a full-on marketing strategy session for you today, although it's pretty darn close. But hopefully you have some of this already done in your business plans, or again, if you've been putting together a strategy for marketing going forward for this year. But a couple of things that you will want to have answers to this, and I'm going to write these down and I am going to email these to you. But the first question you need to have answered is, what solution are you offering? So I'm going to give you some tips when I send you the email. I know I can hear the crickets out there already. You're like, what are you talking about? So what I will suggest to you is that the product we are selling, in this case, you can see the product we are selling, renovations extra large. But people don't necessarily buy products or services. They are buying solutions. So it is well worth your while right now or today, before you start this exercise, to figure out at the end of the day, what solution are you actually selling? So in this case, I can tell you that with this business, it took us a while to get there, but at the end of the day, what we figured out after we looked at all of the past business, and when we looked at all of the customers and clients that they had worked with, what did those customers and clients consistently tell these guys about what they were offering, because it wasn't, oh, you do you do great renovations, right? That was not the language that the customer was using. So in this case, what was consistent was their cleverness. When it came to renovations, when it came to builds, how they utilized and leveraged space, there was no dead space in the renovations that they had worked on. Underneath the stairs had been used properly. In cabinets that had been used properly, in cupboards and pantries, in laundry rooms. Like, it was just over and over and over again. All of they had been formally trained in Ireland, and they had a very different approach to how they were going to do renovations. So when they went back and historically, they said, what do clients consistently say about us? The word that kept coming up over and over again was their cleverness. Again, I just did this exercise with a client face-to-face, one-on-one yesterday, and we went through, what are you selling? And for them, it came out to efficiency. It wasn't just energy efficiency, it was labor efficiency, it was time efficiency across the board. Another customer, it was grace and graciousness. Another one, I wrote some of these down, efficiency, cleverness, it was strength. And so anyways, I'm telling you this because this is very important when it comes to sharing your message as you go forward and being able to provide the solution, creating that catch-all, because that word, whatever that is for you, it becomes one of your unique selling propositions. Because one of the exercises that I get my clients to do when we do one-on-one work is I get them to go and visit anywhere from 10 to 20 competitors' websites. And they don't need to be in your market. They can be wherever, whether it's Australia, whether it's London, whether it's next door, right? Whether it's Warman, whether it's Thornton, it doesn't matter. You will be shocked that when you look at these websites, everyone is saying the same thing. Your competitors are all saying the same thing. And usually it's quality, speed, budget, service. It's all this, it's blah. It is so dry. So you have to figure out what makes you special, what makes you unique, and what is consistent across everything that it is that you're doing, because that becomes what it is that you're selling. All right, now why this is important, why I'm sharing this with you here, is because whatever that unique selling proposition is, you need to make sure that all facets of your organization are in alignment with it. So when we started looking at marketing, we could not do the ho-hum, the cliche marketing, the door hangers, because these guys were supposed to be clever. So if they're selling cleverness, everything has to be super clever, right? So we kind of carved out a niche there, but it's certainly, we had to think beyond the box when it came to traditional marketing. All right, so the first question you need to answer. The second question you need to answer is, what are their main frustrations? So if you go back, again, if you've been in business for a while, this is going to be easier for you, because you can go back and you can say, with all the clients that we've worked with in the past, what were some of their key frustrations? What are some of the consistencies that we've experienced in working with people that identify their hot buttons? Because once you know their hot buttons, you will be able to create messages that emotionally hit that button, right? So again, it doesn't matter if you're business to business or if you're business to consumer. Everyone has a hot button. You also need to remember that there's different hot buttons for what we call influencers. So people that kind of influence the decision-making process, they may push it up the ladder, or they may be the one that has to gather all of the information, maybe your gatekeepers, right? And then there's the decision makers. And so the decision makers, some of their hot buttons are very different from the influencers' hot buttons, right? So you need to think about those two things. Okay, so you now know what your unique selling proposition is. You know what their frustrations are. Now, when it comes to their frustrations, you need to be able to answer how you solve that frustration. So for example, the client I was working with yesterday, one of their key frustrations was, what was it? Oh, there's a new energy code now in Saskatchewan. And so compliance after January 2019, after January 1st, 2019, any builds where they were in the middle of that build, they now have to follow a brand new energy compliance code. And so there's a lot of frustration in the market right now because they have to go back and redo everything. So now that we've got key frustration number one, how do you solve it? You need to answer how you solve it. You know, panels are already prefabricated. They're all ready to code. They were developed for code for February 2019. And save time and money, right? So all of those little pieces that you need to put together. Don't worry, I'm going to come to numbers in a second, but you need to be able to answer these things to make sure that this marketing mix is going to work for you. So under the frustrations, you know what their frustration is, the impact of that frustration, you know how you solve the frustration. The last piece that is going to be very, very valuable is what I call a proof point. So instead of you just saying, oh, well, we have manufactured these ready to install panels, right? So now you don't need, they're all ready to code and it's not going to take all of this labor. You need to create what I call a proof point around that. It helps to sell it. So instead of you just verbally explaining, if you can have some numbers that qualify what it is that you're saying. So when we talk about code, we talk about the code that these panels meet specifically. When we talk about saving time and money, they've gone back to look at their last 10 projects and how much money and time was saved. So on average, based on our calculations, right, we have saved companies $75,264 for these reasons, and we have saved them over 3 months, 2 days, and 4 hours of installation time. It's a very different message when you can put proof points behind it versus just saying, yeah, we do that. We do that. Yep, that's how we solve it, right? So that's what I want you to think about when it comes to proof points. Okay, you're getting this whole bonus gift with purchase, a whole marketing class here today with numbers. I bet you never thought you were going to get that. Okay, and the last thing that you need to answer is, where are these people? So again, business to business is going to be a lot easier because really you can Google where these businesses are. You're going to know exactly who it is that you need to speak to, right? Who are these people? Oh, did I mention that? I might not have even mentioned that. That's actually step number 2. Step number 1 is, what are you offering? Step number 2 is, who is your ideal market, right? And you'll know that by who are your raving fans. You'll know that by going back historically to see where did you make the most amount of money for the least amount of effort. I know right now for a lot of you, you can already remember customers that were a pain in the butt. Those are not your ideal customers. You want people that believe in you, that see value in you, that do not compromise on price, that they don't finagle you right down. Those become your ideal customers. So now with this last question, I'm going to put them all in the email. Where do you find these people, right? So business to business is easier. You can Google a lot of these people. You can find them in directories and lists. Business to consumer, you almost need to get into the psychographics of this specific market, right? So where are they? Where are they shopping? What does their day look like when they wake up? Do they go to the gym? Do they not? Where do they do grocery shopping? Are they dropping kids off to activities or not? I talked about hitting the gym. What are they reading? What radio stations are they listening to? Are they a part of associations or groups? Do they go to church? What are their philosophical beliefs or philanthropic initiatives that they tend to support, right? Once you start to understand all of that, it becomes a lot easier to go and find them and do a direct approach when it comes to marketing versus trying to hit everybody all the time. Okay, that's a wrap. That's a wrap on all of the stuff that you need to answer before we get into this marketing piece. And it may come in stages, but your questions are, what is your solution? Who is your market? What are their frustrations, right? And when it comes to frustrations, their frustration, how you solve it, and your proof point, and then where are these customers? So easy, right? Easy peasy. Okay, so now that you have all of that, now we come to our marketing mix here. So this is where we get into marketing math. So I want you up here in the top left-hand corner, you're going to write down the product that you are actually preparing the marketing mix for, your average transaction value here, 250,000. And if any of these numbers are sounding unfamiliar to you, you just go back to your forecasting for profit because they're all here, right? So total sales that we were looking for right here, 2,200,000. And you recall that we put our price point, as I jumble all over around here, we put our price point right there. So you find all of these numbers in your tab 3. So you're putting that number in here. Now your target market, you've answered those questions. So in this case, I've put client A, because some of you might have multiple target markets for some of your products and services, right? Even if it's product A, you might have maybe 2 tiers of different customers. In this example, they did have 2 tiers. They had client A, which is an inner city, typically professor, lawyer, doctor. That's why you'll see Mr. and Dr. Jones here. And then we also had client B, not out of priority or rank, but client B, they were doing the large renovations on homes typically built in the 70s. So there were very specific suburban areas where the homes were looking for large renos. But I'm going to focus here on client A. So client A, our sales window of opportunity, most of the work, when the money is going to come in on this phased approach, is typically going to be from March to June. So that's what you're going to write in here. And then your pipeline timeline really just means your sales pipeline. So if you know that you're going to be closing deals March to June, you can't start marketing in March. That's way too late. You've missed the boat, right? Everyone else has already started marketing to them. So you need to get in front of them before that. In this case here, when I first started thinking about this, it was kind of September, because you might recall we had talked about people doing renovations over the holidays sometimes. So you can make that intro, but worst case, if nothing comes in over Christmas, you're still now front of mind for them come January, February, when they're looking to make some of these purchasing decisions with the renovations. So that's all I mean by that, understanding your pipeline, because sometimes these budgets are going to correspond with where you start your marketing initiatives. Okay, so that's all you do for the top piece. Next piece, targets. This is very important. This is what is defending these numbers over here. When we start talking about number of units being sold up here, right? And in our large renovations, we had 11 of them, and we talked about 3 here in March, 3 in April, 3 in May, 2 in June. We need to defend that. Now, most people, when they go and they build a marketing strategy, deep breath, it's usually, I have a website, I have social media accounts, and I do trade shows. That's usually what I hear from people. We have some brochures, we've got a business card, right? This does not fly when you have to defend these sales. If you get asked by an investor or a bank, how are you planning to generate 11 customers? Usually crickets, right? So we cannot have crickets. This is how you do this math. This is how this works. So what you do is you come back over here to your marketing mix. You can tell I have way too many things open. You come back here to your marketing mix. Now, I'm going to suggest you start with what's called the rule of 10. The rule of 10 basically just means that to get 10 people sold, just as an example, I don't know how many you need to sell. In this case, it was 11, right? We had to do 11 extra large renovation projects. So, sorry, I lost my train of thought. So let's just say, hypothetically, it's 10. If you can't defend otherwise, I'm going to recommend you use the rule of 10, which would then mean to sell 10 customers here under closed, you would need to have 10 times 10 is 100. You would have to have 100 engaged. To have 100 engaged, right, at a 10% conversion rate, you would need to have 1,000 interested, right? Everybody with me? 1,000 interested at a 10% conversion rate means that you would need to have 10,000 aware. Now, the only reason why this is different is because these people, these clients in particular, they had been in business for, oh gosh, I forget now, 8, 9 to 8, it was before 2011. So they'd been in business a long time, and they were able to prove to me when I worked with them that when they get a face-to-face and they are able to just wow them with their cleverness, they get an 80% conversion rate over and over and over and over. That's their average conversion rate. They first, you know what, it's more like 95. I said, okay, you know what, let's be safe and let's go for 80, because they were able to defend this, which is why I've used an 80% conversion rate of those people that are engaged are actually, they turn into paying customers. So if you don't know what that number is, a 10% number is safe. Now, I don't want you to worry about, oh my goodness, I need to create awareness with 20,000 people. And it might even be more, right? It might be 250. I don't know what your numbers are saying, but I don't want you to worry, because oftentimes in awareness, this is where social media does come in handy, but there's tips that I need to speak to you about. So what you are going to do here is you are going to put whatever that total number is that you need to sell for the year, you're going to put that number here. You're going to bank on right now just a 10% conversion, right? So unless you can defend otherwise. So you just take this number, whatever that is, you divide it by the 10%, right? And that is going to give you how many numbers you need to have in here. You will see that 11 divided by 80%, not 80, 80%, you can do the math, gives you 14, I think it's 13.7 something. So I've rounded it up. Same thing, 14 divided by 10% gives you 140, right? So just do that math is important to you. Otherwise you're gonna go like, how the heck do I get this number? Okay, so now that you've got this, you actually know what your process is going to look like. So let me explain these columns to you. In a pipeline, everyone's got a different pipeline. This is the pipeline that I use. You might have your own pipeline. It's probably very, very similar to this, maybe with some different language. But we take people through a process to get them sold. We don't say, hi, my name is Tanya, do you want to buy? That's not how it works. So that process typically starts with just creating awareness. And it's interesting because under this stage of creating awareness, this is this first point of contact. And I think there's so much apprehension and fear and anxiety and dread around the sales call, the cold call, right? It's because we attach sales to that idea of, oh my God, I need to sell, in that you're not selling, you're just creating awareness, right? You're not even sure if this person's a fit for you. You have no idea. So you're simply creating awareness, whatever that may be. You still have the whole qualifying process. So we go from creating awareness into getting them interested in what we're doing. And then once they're interested, they are then engaged. And engaged is usually, in my experience, where we start talking about price, like getting into the details with price. It's not even up here, because it's hard to believe, but more often than not, your product or service isn't even based on price. It's based on the solution and the output of the outcome of what it is that you're providing. You are solving a problem for these people. And if the problem is big enough, the price goes up. If it's a small little problem, sometimes the price is a little bit lower, right? But it's not necessarily about the price, it's about the value and the solution that you're providing. So sometimes they might not even see it as the solution. You have to craft that for them, which is part of your unique selling proposition. So once you have them engaged, then you actually get them into sold. And then it doesn't end there. Once they're sold, you have to create raving fans out of them. And ideally, if your product or service warrants, they keep coming back to you, maybe not for extra large renovations, but maybe for smaller jobs, or they are referring people to you. And you have to have a very clear process for each one of these verticals. So under each one of these, you will see as we start going down the side here, we have our targets. So these are our sales targets, our numbers. Each one of these pillars, awareness, interested, engaged, it comes with a very different message. And I'll tell you right now, one of the biggest disservices, one of the biggest gaps that I see for a lot of people, especially on social media, and I am not a social media expert and I struggle with it myself. I see this over and over again. We never present an ask. We give all of this information away, or we chat over social media, but there's never the ask. We have to direct people through these pillars. We have to lead them through. We can't just put it out and hope that they fall into interested. We have to let them know where to go, right? Mostly we just throw something out there, hope that they bite on, and then hope that they find our way to us, their way to us. That's not what we do here. So under each one of these pillars, we've got your sales targets. We've got the message that you are going to be putting out there. After messages, sorry, we've got the time frame in which you need to be doing this, because again, the longer, or usually the more valuable the transaction, sometimes the longer it takes to actually be able to get that sale in, right? The less expensive the transaction, usually the faster or more impulsive the decision might become. So what is the time frame? What is the medium? By medium, I mean, how are you going to get this message out? Is it going to be social media? Is it going to be direct mail? Whatever that's going to look like for you. What is the ask? You can tell I didn't quite finish this. I'll finish this and send you a copy of it. But what is the ask? So where do you want them to go next? What are you going to do here? Where are we going to direct them, right? So in this case, website or Ruby, and I'll explain that in a minute. What tools need to be created? So I'm going to go through each one of these, but what tools? So now that you understand what you're going to be doing, right? It's like, oh, okay, well, now we need the website updated. Now we need boxes, we need earplugs, we need cards, we need wrap, we need scripts, we need photography, we need letterhead, we need this card designed, which then gives you a budget, right? So now you actually have a budget attached to that one initiative. Once you get all of these done, you then take this budget and you replace that marketing mix with, if you want, you can put all the numbers together, or you can start to separate them with marketing initiative number 1 for project A. Here's the budget, and at what time of the year you're going to expect that budget to be drawn down from. This is how it works. You bring this stuff, the marketing mix and all your numbers, to a lender. You show them that you have this figured out. You'll be like angels to their ears. The little wings will be flapping. They'll be so happy that you have really given this the thought and attention it deserves. And it's not, well, I have a social media page and we're doing some trade shows, right? A lot of people I find in business are waiting for business to come to them because they're so afraid of reaching out. If you think about all the trade shows that you've done in the past, and not just the expense to be there and the fee for the table, but the traveling fee, the per diem fee, the hotel fee, the marketing material fee, all of that, right? It ends up being very expensive. Now, if you are going to do it, I need you to go through this exact same exercise. Like, what product are you doing it for? What product are you doing it for? How many people do you need to reach? Like, when you're doing that trade show, then you better make darn sure that you are reaching out to those people so you can get these numbers filled, creating awareness with however many, right? Okay, so I just want to run through kind of an example of what we did with this company. So maybe some ideas come to mind for you, not that you're going to copy any of these ideas, but you'll see how this all kind of comes together here. So in this case in particular, and I just put one initiative here that we used, but in this case, these were 2 guys. They were in a renovation business, as you well know at this point, and their concept was cleverness. And so you'd be amazed at the grassroots, guerrilla-based marketing, it's called, that you can do that really is so innovative and so creative and captures so much attention. There's actually a book that I'll have to find it and get the title for you. It's brilliant. It gives you, I think it's like 101 guerrilla-based marketing initiatives that are just, you're like, oh, that's such a great idea. That's such a great idea. And very, very cost effective. So in this case, what we actually did with this company is, once we understood exactly who it was that we were reaching to and what their frustrations were, it was interesting. One of the key frustrations for a lot of these people, when we looked at, sorry, I'm going to backtrack a little bit, but when we looked at who are these people, right? And let me just go with, these were the inner city people living by the university. We had a very specific geographic area. We had level of income. We had careers. We had all of that sort of stuff. And then when we looked at where they are, again, we understood that, but why are they making these decisions, right? What's motivating them to make the decision? It was interesting because when we started to look back at former clients, it's usually when one of their neighbors starts renovation process. It's like an ego thing. When someone starts a reno, someone down the road starts a reno, and then another reno, and it all starts to catch on. So when we started to understand that trend, we went, bam, that's it. So what we actually did is we put together a concept that was called our earplug concept. And we knew that one of the key frustrations for them was going to be 2 things: the noise about the renovation that was happening in that area, the noise and the banging and the drilling and all of that sort of stuff that goes on, as well as parking. parking becomes a nightmare in these inner city areas where a lot of parking on the street, and then you get all of these trucks. So it becomes a huge frustration. So what we actually did, called it the earplug, but it was also parking pylon. And we just packaged up these earplugs. So we took earplugs, they went in this beautiful box. We sourced the box. It was the same colors and the brand as this construction company. We got the lid branded. We got this beautiful wrapping paper. There was a beautiful bow, and basically all they did, small little like Tiffany box, right? And when people got home, there was this gift waiting for them. And they open up this package. There was a little card just with our compliments, the guys at blah, blah, blah. And they opened this up, and it was a pair of earplugs. And then under the earplugs was this message: we see that you have some renovations happening in the neighborhood. We wanted to, and I forget exactly what the copy was, but we know this can be a challenging time. We want to let you know that we're here to help. And if you would like to start any sort of renovations in your house, know that we've got lots of very clever solutions at hand for you. And that was it. So it wasn't really selling anything. Now their website was on it. So in this case, the ask, we left it was very subtle, but we put the website address on there, because I can tell you with that initiative, so we had earplugs and we had parking pylons, exact same process that we went through. But for every 10 that we put out there, so we had a goal of 50 a month. It was very easy. They just drove around these areas. They found one house being renovated, and then they picked 10 to 15 houses around it. And their conversion rate, the number of people that actually started to go onto the website or give them a call, they estimated it was about a 90% conversion rate. Isn't that crazy? 90%. So it's when you start thinking outside of the box, it's amazing what will happen for you. Most people are just so embedded in their business, trying to put out fires, trying to figure out how to make money, right? That this creative process around what can we do differently to up our conversion and start building relationships. If you start nailing this piece under Aware, this whole pipeline starts to just, because we had a 10% conversion rate and they got 90. So really, what in this case, I have to tell you what happened here. They started with 50 boxes. We were going to do 50 every month. From that 50, that filled up their whole pipeline. And they have actually, and I forget the exact numbers, but they're at a point now where they, their growth, they have built their team. They have more than tripled what we expected for their projections. They have not bought it. Well, actually, they called me the other day to say, oh, we're thinking about buying a building, which is what got them in trouble at the beginning. But anyways, so amazing, amazing stuff will happen. I'm trying to watch my time. Okay. So that was the concept earplugs. Now with that, we also had, there was a follow-up concept card. So the idea was that once, this is what our original plan was. The idea was once we send that out, then we follow up with a concept card. And I forget here, whatever that was, 2 weeks after that. And then we actually do a follow-up letter. We didn't even have to do any of this, but you can see this was the whole intention. We had all of that thought out, and the whole ask for them really was about either settling with it, but between these 3 points, right, each one of these had an ask as well, where, you know, please give us a call, we'd like to sit down and meet with you. But the whole idea was to get them into this interested pillar. And once they were interested, then we could go to work with a whole new initiative. But let me finish this off. So those were the messages and the initiatives. We did also talk about social media and what we would do there. In your business, that might be heavily weighted here, but again, build a strategy around it and make sure you always know what the ask is. Where do you want them to go next? And I can tell you in most cases, it is to your website, or it's to a line that gets answered so you can book an appointment, or the discovery interview link, whatever it is, we need to make sure that we're interacting with them. The time frame we talked about, we wanted to start this mid-January, February. These guys actually got started late. I think they started in April. We kept pushing it off, pushing it off. And again, April, that first go-to-market strategy for them, it was just like, whoa, this is crazy. The medium was direct mail. The ask was to go to the website or to call. Where we direct them, we're directing them into the website or Ruby. So Ruby, I just want to let you know, Ruby is, I think I'm going to subscribe to it, but Ruby is a, it's not even an app. It's an organization out of the States that will actually answer your phone calls. So physically, like a real person answering your call. Hello, this is Ruby from company ABC. How can I help you? And then the person says, I'd like to speak to Tanya, please. Please hold. We'll see if she's in, or however it is. I guess you give them the script, and then they just find you. They find you on your cell. They find you in the office, whatever. And if you're there, it gets transferred through. Hi, this is Ruby. Would you like to take a call from? And again, it's a real person. Do you like to take a call from John Doe, or would you like me to take a message? Please take a message. So then Ruby comes back and she's like, unfortunately, Tanya's on a call right now. Can I take a message for you, or would you like her voicemail? So she'll take, so I mean, talk about looking professional. So, and I think that's like $300-400 a month. So where we direct them, we put that in. And then here's where you have to, okay, so tools needed, you're gonna have to really figure this out. In this case, we needed the website updated. So you can't launch any of these initiatives until your website or the next pillar is actually done, right? Because we don't want to say go to the website and then your website is not backing up any of your unique selling proposition. It's not saying you're clever. It's old archaic information, right? So in this case, we needed to have the website updated. We needed the bios. We needed the pictures. We needed elements of cleverness infused into all of the copy. We needed the booking link. Needed a portfolio of services, clever concept pictures. We needed boxes, earplugs, cards, wraps, scripts, photography, all of those things. And all of that came with a budget. So here we were looking at $2,500 plus Ruby at $300 a month. Now we know what we're looking for under awareness. All right. So the second piece here, so now under interested, now you've got them hooked. They're like, oh, I'm gonna go check out the website, right? So this might be a landing page, it might be your home page. Again, you need another hook. So in this case, we knew this was all the work we had to do on the website, but one of the biggest hooks, again, so your website, and I have to say, one of my favorite websites out there, I think they've done such an amazing job with it, is the Tesla website. It is so clean. They use so few words. You go to that site and you're going to be like, where's the copy? They have communicated so many things with images and video and the fewest words possible, because you literally have seconds to capture people's attention and imagination on your site. So, you know, depending on what it is that you're doing and depending on where you want them to go, the other thing that I love about Tesla is that it doesn't matter what stage you're at. Whether you've never heard of Tesla before and you're like, what is everyone talking about? Tesla, 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 or all the way to you have a Tesla car now, right? You are a Tesla owner. They show you in the first 10 seconds what you need to click on depending on what stage you're at here. It's brilliant. So check it out if you want to see a really well done website. And in this case too, we need to help guide them. So this is why you're going to see on a lot of websites these days that right away someone comes up and it's like, hi, do you need help when you're visiting? Now I know some of it can be annoying, so I'm going to leave it to you as to what you think your audience wants. But you will see that right now, usually on pages, it's, you know, call me for a 15-minute discovery session, right? There's no obligation. There's no fee. There's, you know, however it works for you in your specific business. But the intention of those, whether it's somebody coming up to say, how can I help you? Whether it's book a free session, whether it's here, download this tip sheets on the 5 how to avoid these things. The intention of each one of those is typically to engage the audience and to get their contact information, because now you can reach out to them, right? It's not just this static site where there's no information. So just think about all of that when you're looking at your website, because websites and phone numbers and discovery sessions are usually what fill this pillar when it comes to interested. Even when it comes to a phone call, again, when I was working with my clients yesterday, they're like, oh, I just do a phone call. I'm going to be fine with a phone call. That's great. I'm like, okay, well, what are you going to say? Crickets, right? They're like, I don't know what I'm going to say. Well, what's the objective of the call? Oh, I don't know, to get the sale. No, it's not to get the sale, right? You're still interested. So they realize that here, oh, you mean, so now I want the face-to-face with them and get, yes, right? So anyways, as you start to work through this, you'll see that it's not about selling until you get to the engaged. And in the engaged stage, it's usually about You know, and so I'll come back to another tip in a moment, but in the engaged stage, this is usually where you start talking about price. It's usually where you have a proposal, right? And then even if you're getting people that say, I'm not sure, the question always becomes, what would it take to get to yes? Right? And can I ask you, what aren't you sure about? Because you'd be amazed at how many people are not fully aware of what you're really offering, right? We pick up, what is it, like 2% of what we're listening to. So they might have missed 98% of your spiel and your unique selling proposition. So clarifying why they're not at a yes, or what it would take to get to yes. So that brings up an interesting piece here, an interesting tip, or an important tip, is that even when you're creating awareness, even if it's a cold call, right? If it's in here and interested, and you're speaking to someone in a discovery session, and then your ask is, right, well, would you be interested in learning more? Can I, you know, can we set you up? Can I send you some more information on what we're doing and the solutions that we're providing? At any point that you get a no, I'm not interested, you always need to ask. Don't run from that, right? Don't hide from that, for two reasons. One reason is because you never know what is going on in their head and what they heard. So you need to clarify that they actually heard and understand what it is that you're offering, because you might just have got them at a really bad time. It might be a bad day. Then, you know, you have no idea what's going on. But the second reason, and it can be fixed really quickly. There was one customer that I was working with couple months ago, and they were working with municipalities, and the municipality said, no, we don't want to do work with you. We're not a fan of your product. And thank goodness he went back and he said, can I clarify, you know, what it is about our product that you're resistant to? And the director, the city manager said, well, it's this, 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 and this. And then this individual had the opportunity to say, you know what, I just need to clarify. This is why we use this. This is why we use this. And we actually don't use that. And here's the benefits of using this over what you were going to use. And they ended up getting the deal. So don't run away from no's. The second reason why you never run away from a no is because the content and the value that is in that no, for you to figure out what you need to adjust, potentially, if you keep hearing it consistently enough, right, from people, it far surpasses any value that you would get out of a marketing consultant. Because with them telling you I'm not interested and you asking why, it either helps to clarify your market, it clarifies your position, your unique selling opportunity, or helps to clarify and rebuild your product or offering, right? But when you run away from it, you are running away from the most valuable content out there that no focus group, no survey is ever going to get you the wealth of what you'll find in those responses. Okay, the last piece I want to mention, so again, with each one of these pillars, you go down, and when I cut this over, you'll, oh, sorry, I didn't even do that here. I know that their budget here, it was minimal because we'd already budgeted for websites over there. Here under the face-to-faces and the engagement piece, we had budgeted for proposals to be written, beautiful proposals to be crafted, and then different materials. So we had budgeted for that in there per person, right, per prospect. And then I just want to draw your attention here to this last piece, which is sold and retained. Thanks for hanging in with me here. So the sold and retained piece, you know, once we get the deal, we typically think we're done. I need you to think back to, remember cost of goods sold, remember phase 4, which was defend. This is where this ties in together. So whatever it is that you said that you were going to do to create a raving fan out of this now client, this is where you need to do it here. And this is where you need to say, okay, so in this case, right, we have the signed agreement, then this client gets a binder, they get set up into a dashboard so that they can see their project and that it's on time, on budget, right? All of that piece. We talked about warranties, check-ins, all of that sort of stuff. But it is interesting here, one of the things that we definitely budgeted for is, aside from all of these things, and there were so many great concepts that these guys had. So they get the thank you card, they get the completion gift, they get anniversary check-ins, right? It's your house is a year old or your renovation's a year old. You know, what's going on, keeping them front of mind, right? All of that good stuff. So then the other thing that these guys did that was really quite brilliant is because we knew that one of the key frustrations for renovation clients is that projects always go over time and they always go over budget. It's just notorious. It's kind of like a joke out there, right? An industry standard. And so these guys, what they did, aside from the dashboards and all the proof points that they had in place to make sure that the customer was feeling confident that, yeah, okay, we're on time, on budget. At the end, we budgeted in their phase 4 under cost of goods, we budgeted in for a rebate check of up to $2,500. And it without fail, these guys will always send the rebate check now for specific amount, right? Whatever that is for them, not to exceed $2,500. But I'll tell you that one initiative, like when they did that, that created raving fans and huge referral sources out of the customers that they were working with. So again, their pipeline, all of these things that we had planned, all they did was one initiative, and they only got to stage A of the one initiative that we had planned, although we had planned 3 stages for that one initiative, and their pipeline was full. Right? They were over capacity, so they had a waiting list, and now they're trying to figure, okay, phases of development. Now we need to start building more of a team. How do we start doing all of that? So this process never ends. It just keeps going, and that's what you've signed up for as an entrepreneur, because you never arrive, right? And external conditions and everything else that we have going on. Okay, that was a lot. It's interesting, when I do this boot camp though, it's unfortunate because what I gave you here typically gets crammed into 10 minutes, and everyone at the end is like, oh, you should have just given us all, and we needed more time for it. So I'm glad I was able to use the time for you, with you, and kind of go through that process step by step by step, because once you figure out your budget, so again, you have to do this for each product and each service. And tomorrow I will come back and show you, and my computer's kind of frozen here. But once you've gone through this for each phase or for each product or service, we come back to our marketing budget tomorrow. And where I had asked you, I think I'd asked you to benchmark, I forget if it was $2,500, if it was $5,000 per month. Now you see why I asked you to benchmark that. Now you can go and actually put in your budget numbers here. So whether you break it down by product or service, marketing mix for product A, marketing mix for product B, I'll do that tomorrow I'll do it tonight so you can see it tomorrow. Now our budget, this is why I asked you to benchmark it, because it's not going to compromise your profit. Your profit will probably lift a little bit as a result of you putting those numbers in here. Okay, I'm winded. I am going to allow everybody here to, oh, I just about fell off my chair because I thought I didn't record, but I did record. Thank goodness. Can you imagine if I had to do that again? All right. I have unmuted everybody. So you are welcome to weigh in with any questions, or maybe I've just stunned you into silence. I don't know which one I've done. But you can weigh in with questions if you have them. No questions. No questions. One question. Let's see. I'm going to try to click on chat here. Oh, lots of great tips. Thanks, Janelle. Lots of great tips. Lots of great marketing tips, for sure. But that's your marketing math. That's your mix. Okay, I am going to stop the recording.